Welcome to Black Men Speak. It's a podcast that highlights ordinary black men doing extraordinary things. I am your host, Keith Dent, and tonight we are in season 5, which is fantastic. Happy New Year to everybody, by the way. Hope you have a great holiday and you're really looking forward to 2024. I know I am. Um, but I'm gonna have a new word. Everybody kind of has New Year's resolutions, but I'm going to be a little bit more intentional and purposeful will be my word for the year. And I'm really looking forward to this year. We're going to do some different things. But the integrity of the show is going to be the way it always is. So I'm really looking forward to it. So our guest tonight. Well, no, I'm going to start just by asking a question to our brothers out there. Have you ever received flowers before? And here's a much deeper question: is how many of you ever received flowers from another man, just for being you? And I'm sure the majority of people probably would say never. And of course, the thing out there that we hear is that men only receive flowers, when they're in the ground. And so our guest tonight, Robert Washington-Vaughns, he pondered this same thought back in 2018 when he was an outpatient at a mental health program. And then out of that, in 2021 came this project called the Black Men Flower Project. And, when I came across his story, I was just so fascinated, and I really wanted to have him on tonight to really talk about the show, but his project. But that initiative is basically he's trying to redefine social norms by celebrating the beauty and strength of Black masculinity. And he's challenging stereotypes, and also trying to foster healing of Black men, in the communities in which he lives and then other places. So I can't wait to just hear about his journey. And so yes, we're gonna bring him up now. Robert, Happy New Year, brother. How you doing? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Happy New Year. I had you on mute
Happy
there.
New Year.
Yeah.
No
How
worries.
you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. We're matching white today, but
Hey, I
matching
got the
hats.
memo. Right.
And I actually had that same color hat on, but I switched mine
Oh,
to more blackness. So how you doing? Everything's good?
um,
How's your New Year going
yeah,
so far? I guess we're
I,
7 days in. We're a weekend, so.
yeah, exactly. It's a little stressful. We got a lot of campaigns brewing for the new year. Just a lot of growth and it's positive stress. It's a lot of good things happening. So
Oh, okay,
your
great.
your
And yeah,
your podcast included. So
okay, yeah,
happy to
I
be
can't
here.
wait to get into that. So you back in yeah, so let's go back in 2018.
Yes.
You pondered, this project that you started. So take me back to that. How did that actually start?
Yeah, so actually 2018, I was working full time as a scientist at my dream job, and I was extremely depressed, and I had no idea what that looked like. I was not aware that depression was like really a thing. Like I had been sad in the past, but like I had been walking around with a broken arm and a broken leg mentally. And
Mm,
I wasn't aware of that until I was in the ER for having suicidal ideation. So
mm, mm.
the project didn't come around until like 2020, 2021.
Okay.
But prior to then, I had just been taught like, and again, this is like not directly, not someone's not beating you over your head like, hey, this is what it means to be a black man. It's just how society and other black men chastise each other. That's correct. That's incorrect. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say living in this lifestyle of like having a nice car, having a nice apartment, trying to date the most beautiful women, just all these superficial things like really put me in that place. So that's kind of that's like the root of it, of how this kind of started.
Mhm.
Um, through that, and so 2018, I actually went to a mental health facility, outpatient, for 3 months. And you'll see this in our website. Our pillars are art, nature, and community. And so through this like outpatient program, I had a sense of community. I had people I could talk to about my problems and helping them with their problems. We got to make art every day, and then we also got to spend time in nature. So through those processes, um, just for myself, through my own mental health journey, I was able to begin to like, okay, how do I make this? How do I transfer this lesson in the most nimble way possible? And that was flowers.
Okay. So, um, so you kind of talked about the fact that you had this great job, or you were chasing a great job,
Hmm.
apartment, and I guess the finest woman you could be
Yes.
with. And so were you depressed by the fact that you weren't achieving those goals, or you had achieved them and then it was like, okay, well, what was next? Or it
Yeah,
was that all there
I
is?
I had achieved them, and I made it to the mountaintop. And you know, the thing about being on the mountaintop, there's a huge cliff. You know what I mean, that you could jump off of. And I think that not only was it was essentially like the maintenance, right? You have a new car, you got a beautiful girl. She wants to go out to eat. Your car needs maintenance all the time. You know, there's no if you buy a new car, there's no maintenance for it. There's no parts available. You can only go to the dealership. You know, if you have a high
Mhm.
profile job, you're putting in 40, 50, 60 hours a week to get that next promotion. You're always chasing money, you're chasing women, you're chasing an aesthetic. You're decorating your mask, but you're never really taking care of yourself, in my opinion.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in actuality, I think if we feel that is part of being a man, then when we either get there or we don't get there, or when we judge ourselves against those items, we
Mm,
can cause us to get to a place where we are questioning, what is our existence, if we don't have, certain things in place.
yeah, there was no
So
foundation for me. So
right,
sorry, yeah.
right, okay. And so then one of the things I wanted to clear up and I thought was fascinating, and then you said while were in therapy, you gravitated to a therapy practice called wabi-sabi.
Yes.
So for our, I guess, listeners or watchers, what is wabi-sabi, and how did that resonate with you?
So wabi-sabi is a Japanese practice of actualizing and realizing that nothing in nature is perfect. That there was an activity that we did in our art therapy session where we went out and we made art with things we found in nature. So everything from like pieces of tree bark to branches to leaves to anything that we could find outside. I mean, maybe even some like trash or wrappers or something. So afterwards, they asked us, "What did you realize in nature was perfect?" And we were like, "Well, nothing. Everything's asymmetrical, eaten off of, or dead, dying, or still growing." And they're like, "Well, if nothing in nature is perfect, why are you trying to be perfect?" And
Mm,
it's actually like that really blew my mind to think that um, how is it the society we have to everything has to be perfect, right? I just got done doing a Canva design for a project we'll talk about later, hopefully. And it's like everybody wants it to be perfect. Oh, this is not a line, these words is not quite right. Like, where's the how come they can't just be fine as it is? You know what I mean? In society, we have normalized and working in the sciences.
mhm.
If it's not perfect, send it back, refund it. You know what I mean? And so I think that idea of perfection is put on our masculinity as black men as well, that we have to be something that is still less than the ideal standard or the perfect. We'll never be white. We'll never be, uh, well, not to say, I want to say not millionaires, but it's like we'll never have this social norm in society.
Mhm,
We'll
mhm.
always be
Right.
less than. And it's like, I'm chasing something that I can never achieve in a sense. And so
Okay.
that's how I correlated Wabi Sabi to essentially the black experience.
Okay. Yeah. So basically saying that being less than perfect, or the fact that we have imperfections, should be okay,
Yeah.
and that just basically being your best self. And
Hmm.
I mean, and that's a great thing to um well, I get aspire to, or that's a great mantra for a lack of a better word, because
Hmm.
we we do a lot of comparing, especially to entertainers, athletes, and things of that matter. So, the average Joe, or just if you're out here, just doing your thing in the community, we could still come up to the fact that it's still not enough. And how do we
Hmm.
really, move forward, and, by obtaining, those material things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like even as children, you know what I mean? Like in school, it's like you got to get straight A's or you're less than. And so like we're always chastised and cast down for essentially we got to do twice as much to get half the credit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like what we're chasing is just. I was reading the Bible last night. It's like chasing after the wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you'll never catch it. You know, it's all vanity. We're chasing vanity.
And I know we didn't really discuss it, but to go back, do you have any, like, brothers and sisters, and did you actually feel that at home with your parents?
Oh man, that's a good question. So like yeah, I have a younger sister, and my
Okay.
sister's extremely talented and gifted. And I feel, and my father wasn't in the home because of his own mental health issues with me
Mm.
growing up. Um, my sister got a lot of, and it's always I'm the oldest, right? So it's always the younger sibling that gets like the more grace. My sister got to explore a lot of their creative side, a lot of like pianos and stuff like that, and just and I didn't get that. And my mom was like, "You got to be a doctor. You got to do this. You got like." My mom was
Mm.
bringing home Department of Labor statistics on the
Oh,
type of
wow.
doctor the type of doctor I could be and how much money I could make. Like it was always like money driven of like you are going to be,
Wow.
and she was
Wow.
preparing me for the world, you know what I mean? But she
Mhm.
wasn't nurturing the child that would become a man. You know what I mean?
Okay.
She said the world already she basically was telling me the world already sees you as that man and I need to treat you that way to prepare you. And so it prepared me in some ways to get to that success, but like once I had it, I couldn't hold on to it.
Okay. And wow. When was your earliest memory of that?
Oh man, I would say probably second or third grade. You know, like in the math book, they have the odd problems. They have the answers to the odd problems in the back of the book. My mom would
Okay.
make me do extra credit for everything. Like it didn't matter what it was. She was like, "You're gonna do extra credit. You're gonna like show your teachers you're not dummy. That you're just not another black boy that's gonna get left behind."
Okay. Okay. And so then you first sent flowers to a friend in 2021 in New York City, which was,
Yes.
near me. Shout out to the city. And
Yeah.
so, what made you? Well, one, how did you end up picking that individual?
Uh.
And then, what was there when you I'm sure, and I don't know, I'd love to hear if you crafted a message, you sent it, or did you, kind of give him the heads up that it was going to be done, and then what was his reaction to that?
So the reason I picked him was so outside of being born and raised in Chicago, I lived in Georgia. I went to military school there, and I went to college in Ohio. Um, for the easiest way I can put it, without telling his story for him, me and him, we struggled together. Like we have been through some hard times, and just living in Ohio, just being two young kids, two young black men in America, just trying to make ends meet, and in that time that I have known him, he had moved to New York. He's in a relationship now, a loving relationship, and he's really just grown. So for me to send him flowers essentially was to say, I recognize you and I appreciate you for being a good friend to me, not only number one, and like you essentially like made it out the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like you survived your trauma, you survived everyone that told you wasn't going to make it, and you're thriving in New York City. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you for that because me and him didn't have two nickels between us sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
right, right.
we'll go out drinking and we'll have to walk about an hour to get to the bar because we didn't have a car. You know what I mean? So it was just struggle like that I really appreciated that he found his own way out. And to answer your last question, his reaction was like, I figured he'd be the most receptive. You know, he's a musician, he's an artist, he's very, you know, in touch with his emotions. And I think none of that matters in the face of who society tells us that we are as Black men, number one. And then how do we have to perform that in the world? So, him being the first recipient, him sending me a photo of him with the flowers, it meant a lot to me because it's like he told me that it felt, and you can go and read the caption on that. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of our IG page, you can see his response where he said it was a weird experience. Like he didn't know how to feel. Like it felt weird, very odd and like alien, you know, because we are not associated with nature. We're not associated with beauty. We're supposed to be rough, rugged, and raw. And yeah, I'll just stop there because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just like
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and so then you decided, so, and that's great experiment, but then you decided to start a nonprofit based on that experience.
Hmm.
So what made you, because a one-time thing is great and everybody feels good, but then deciding that you wanted to take it further, and what sparked that?
So you know, I don't know if you were on Clubhouse back in the OG Clubhouse days.
No, no,
No,
I
man,
know.
it was
I
a
think I was past the clubhouse days, unfortunately.
okay. So it was an app during like the pandemic, everything shut down. It's just like an audio based like social networking thing, kind of like Twitter Spaces now. And you know, I just kept hearing this phrase like, "Give him his flowers. He deserves his flowers." And I was like, "But if I, as a Black man, you know, who wasn't at the front of my pack, I wasn't in the front of the gym class, I wasn't dunking on people, you know what I'm saying, in middle and high school. I'm actually pretty bad at basketball,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
if I can feel this, how many other Black men are feeling the same pain?" And so it made me realize that I want to take this further outside of my friend group, outside of my family, and I need the support of others to do it. I can't do it by myself. And so there are a lot of different ways. You know, I consider starting like a scholarship. There's like other way, you know, there's other ways of giving. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? I
mhm,
could have
right.
just kept it local, but it's like I felt like this. And again, this was like 3 years ago, and I can't sitting here now talking to you now is so surreal because it's like this was never supposed in my mind. It was never going to be this big. It's just like, hey, if people want to donate a couple of dollars because flowers are expensive, but essentially, I just wanted to make this an accessible experience and something that wasn't solely self-funded.
Okay, okay. And you're operating in what cities currently?
Uh, so I'm currently based in New Mexico, where I work and live. So Santa Fe, New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico, New York City, Chicago, Illinois, and we're expanding operations to Miami. Excuse me, Miami, Atlanta, and San Diego this year,
Oh, wow, that's
and
fantastic.
London, and
Oh, in
London too.
London, okay.
Yes.
And one of the things that make it, of course, important is that you needed to find florists or floral
Yes.
designers. And
Yes.
so, I mean, because getting the flowers is great, but you need to find the designers or the florists. And of course, your goal is that you're focusing on Black florists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the next guest that I'm bringing up was someone that was actually someone that jumped on board pretty early.
Absolutely.
You know, and his name is John Caleb Pendleton from Plaques and Pistils. And so, the one thing that I loved about his story is that it came on the fact that one, he loved woodworking and flowers, and it was definitely out of his story with his parents. I don't want to kind of give it away. I always love when everyone else kind of gets to tell their own story. And then so I thought he had disappeared, but he's back. So
There
so
we go.
So yes, John Caleb Pendleton, owner and founder of Planks and Pistils. So
Planks and Pistils, yes, sir.
how are you? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been quite the evening, and I am horrible with technology. So sorry. Thought I was exiting out of something else, and then I just like went out for a second. But I'm doing good. I'm glad to finally be here with you guys.
Yeah, no, hey, no worries. I'm just glad that you're here today. Happy New Year. And
Same to you.
yeah, I first of all, your flower arrangements are fantastic.
Thank you.
Just on the website. But I'd love to just hear and tell the audience of your journey. How did you come about becoming a floral designer, and why did you feel compelled to jump on the project of the Black Men Flower Project?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Thank you for having me on the show. It's good to be here and be part of this, and I'm glad you started this. But when it comes to me and how I kind of fell into flowers, I would design flowers for my wife around the house. Um, and when we were dating, she was my girlfriend. I would like get a bouquet of flowers and rearrange it to try to. I was broke, so I was like, like let me get a few like different bunches of flowers and try to mix them up to make them look nicer. And I thought it was something like everybody could do, and just everybody didn't do. And then we got married, and I would make a wreath for the house and arrange flowers for around the house and such. And then I used my background is in youth development work, and so
Okay.
I was working for a youth nonprofit mentorship in public high schools, coaching students to fulfill their dreams and such. And I was moving from one organization to the other, and as I was waiting to start at the next organization, I like it was an organization that was from outside of Chicago, and so they were just having a hard time getting into Chicago public schools. And so I was hired, getting paid, just sitting at home every day. And one day I was just like, "Hey, anybody want a floral arrangement?" And I posted it for my like few friends that I was on that follow me on social media, and I had some people reach out. I was like, "Hey, like yeah, like I'd buy some flowers for my wife. I'll buy some flowers for my wife." And then it just kind of snowballed, and here we are 6.5 years later, maybe seven. I always forget how long I've like actually been doing the flowers. But um but yeah, so I started doing that, and about 3.5 years into it, um it would this February will make 3 years that I've been doing these, or 4 years. Wow, we're in 2024. This February will make 4 years where I've been doing these public installations around Black monuments in Chicago. So February of 2020, we did, or I didn't have a team then. I did a full arrangement on this bust of John Baptiste du Sable, who is
Mm,
credited to be the founder of Chicago. And so I did just this small full arrangement, had a piece of wood that I burned into the wood, a Black man found in Chicago. And this was my first public installation. And so my focus, and since then I've done many public installations around Black statues in Chicago, and I do DuSable statue every year. But that's like my hope. That's what my heart behind flowers is. I want my people to experience flowers. I want to use flowers to tell Black folks stories.
right. Okay.
Um, and so when Robert reached out about this, that's why it was just a no brainer, because like I was already like doing this in my own way, like not doing what he does, but like focusing flowers on Black people. I was already doing it in my own way. And so when he asked, I was like, "Oh, easy, done. Let's do it. Let's do it, and let's do it, like do it big. And so
Right. 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 That's great. Great. And so one of the things that was also kind of compelling is that both of you had seen kind of the unresolved ripple effects of generational trauma
mm,
in your lives. And I know Robert touched upon that a little bit, but you know, was there other maybe outside of your families, but there was some other trauma that you saw where you felt that this would be a project that had legs and could really kind of transform um, Black men and how they felt about themselves. I'd love to hear that. If you have, if you have a story that could be really kind of support the work that you're doing.
Robert.
Well, I honestly can't think of a specific situation other than the pandemic. I think that the pandemic really stripped a lot of people of the materialism that we are so akin to, and it just allowed us to return. And I'm going to go back to this, just say nature, right? Like more people went out, they got hobbies, they began biking and just finding new ways of connecting or being intentional, because it's like somebody can get sick and die essentially. And so it's just like, how do we gather when it might kill us, when before we took it for granted? So I can only speak to that large brushstroke specific. I don't know if John has a specific example.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest examples that sticks out to me of like not why I thought like, oh, this could be helpful, but from the arrangements that we've given, one of them, or actually two stories come up that I was like, oh wow, this is actually doing something. Like this is helping Black men. And one was a guy nominated one of his friends who he struggles with his physical health, but they work together, do pop up small business stuff together. And this guy's like always like encouraging other people. He's never like down. He's one of, like he's fighting his own battle with his illness, and he's always encouraging other folks. And in the note that his friend wrote for him, he highlighted this, and like dude like start tearing up when I like read to him why he was receiving the flowers. Because when I deliver, I'm like, hey, you've been nominated, and this is why they said they nominated you, blah 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 blah. And I tell him so. That one, and then another one was a son nominated his father, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I like take a photo of you? Like we try to get a photo of every recipient with his flowers, and he was like, yeah, and he like smiled, and then like later on when we posted it, his wife commented, and she was like, he never smiles in any photo. And then like one of like their friends commented and was like, he really never smiles in photos. So like this is like a big thing. So and every time delivery is made, it's like the surprise, the joy, the like all of that. Just you see it, no matter if it's making some long-term effect, a long-term impact or not. You see in that moment their day is better, you know.
Great. Yeah, that's great. And I wanted to, since you kind of mentioned that, take me through the nomination process. How does it work in order for a man in those four areas and then of course one's coming up to receive the flowers?
Absolutely. So I would even to add to that as well. We can deliver flowers anywhere in the U.S. John is perfecting his shipping and handling while keeping the bouquets intact. And
Okay, that's great.
And then also in other instances, there's a list of Black florists that we try to pull from in other cities. That if somebody's like in D.C. or let's say I don't know, Montana or something, we try not to go through 1-800 flowers or something like that. So,
okay.
Very simple. Like, but it's easier to like if we already have a contract or have like we know how much it's going to cost, and they're kind of adhering to like the standards that we want these bouquets to look, because we don't have this like they're not normal bouquets. These are like mini jungles.
Yeah, I saw some of them. I'm like, man, those
especially John's. But to that point, to your question. The process essentially, as we get nominations and as we get, we try to get Black men. That's our only prerequisite, is that we get a Black man to nominate someone else in his community, someone that he's in contact with. We don't want like, oh hey, I saw there's this Black guy that I work with on the third floor and he's a really nice guy. We want people that are like kind of like already that know each other, if possible, to nominate each other. And as we get those nominations in, we match that with donations to that given city. So we do accept donations nationally through our general fund, but then also as through our partner florist, those 100% of those donations go to flowers. And in some cases, there's been many instances where I have self-funded that. So as nominations come in and money comes in, those get paired and get sent off to the nominees.
Okay. And are you the sole? So is it a kind of a weekly thing, or once a week, or once a month that someone gets
Yeah,
gets selected?
Honestly, it depends on the florist availability. You know, there's a lot of, and I did not realize this until John came on board. There's a lot of logistics with delivering flowers, you know, because you want to know when and where they're going to be at. There's been a lot of deliveries left on doorsteps. So,
Oh, right.
and so with John, we tried when we first started, we were doing it weekly, and there's so much time and attention that he puts into the arrangements that we've now switched to monthly. So it really just depends on the market, the number of nominations, and the amount of money that we get that we're able to do this. So to be honest, it's honestly sporadic. It's kind of sporadic, and we try to have campaigns to say, hey, we're going to do this consistently. So in New York right now, we're doing 10 Black men in New York, and it's all going to be for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and that's going to be at one time for 10 Black men. But like outside of that, it's like, okay, like can we get into a cadence? Because it can be random. It can be like, hey, this is upcoming for a birthday, or upcoming because my best friend's getting married. You know what I mean? So it can be time sensitive, or it can be just based off of those other parameters.
Gotcha. And just because I have my wife, and we were discussing this. So what is why just a Black man? What makes it that more powerful when it comes from a man?
I think it's twofold, right? Because one, we're men, and then two, we're Black. So I think that anytime any of us goes to the grocery store, we go shoe shopping, or we're in the mall, there's this sense of like people are hyper aware of us, but somehow we're still being ignored. Like somebody will walk around you without ever making contact with you. You will hear. I was in the parking lot yesterday. I swear to God, I was getting in my car leaving. This woman, bloop, 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 bloop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Her car was triple, quadruple locked. And she never acknowledged me one time, but I knew it was because she saw me without looking at me. And so I think that for Black men to acknowledge one another in a way that is non-traditional, it's not based on a pretense. Hey, I see you back home, you got a nice car. Oh, you got a fine girlfriend. I've been acknowledged by my
and mentors. Just the nod too, right?
Yeah, just the nod.
Yeah.
I've been acknowledged for superficial things by my mentors, by my older cousins, by my father figures, for things that were superficial, and never for something that was like, we're having I mean, not to say those deep moments don't happen, but they don't happen publicly, or they don't happen in a sense of like in openness. And I don't know, John, I'll give you an opportunity to answer that as well, because I know you're because we've tried to do it other ways. I've contemplated, and John was like, no, we have to do it, like it has to be this way.
Yeah. For me, I think there's so many reasons. I'm trying to be concise, but Black men, we men in general. Let's go there first. Men in general, it's more of a modern thing for men to not be like connected and like even emotionally connected, and like hundreds of years ago that wasn't a thing. Like men had close friendships and shared together, and like it wasn't uncommon for men to express their emotions in general, but also to each other, and about each other, like I love you, like and so yeah, for me it really is that. It's like it's understanding that men, like the number of men dying by suicide is ever growing. It's not, there's an issue, there's a problem there. And it's not like, oh, just all men except Black men. It's like all of these issues that face men in America, and then you add on being Black, and it's just like, and I never, for anyone listening, I never want to get into the, like, what some people call like the struggle Olympics. You know, like, I'm not saying like, oh, men have it so hard, whatever. I understand we live in a patriarchal world. We carry privilege. You know, I understand that, and at the same time, I believe to become a healthier world, to heal from the ills of patriarchy, men have to love each other, love ourselves, and so that we can love one another. Because the anger, aggression, and the negative things that men are known for is all an acting out from not receiving the emotional care
Right, right.
that we need as humans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, and that was one of the
So yeah,
reasons why I did the show, is to
yeah,
say that we, we have a voice. We can acknowledge some of the great things that Black men are doing outside of that hit rap music, hip hop, or the athlete sinking the point, that kind of thing. And this is a great way to do it. And then, your project is also a great way to just show, like, hey, because you may be doing, you're going to work every day, or you're taking care of your family, then that's something that we can acknowledge. And I think that
Absolutely.
goes a long way. But then also just brought up a kind of interesting question, would like to ponder. Have the two of you had you ever received flowers before?
John actually gave me my first bouquet of flowers.
Okay.
The first time we met, we were at a restaurant. I was running late, and there was this tiny bouquet of flowers, and he's like, "These are for you." And it was one of the scariest moments of my life, because
Oh, wow.
we
Okay.
were in public. It really, like, I felt like someone ripped my mask off. Like, you're taking away, and I had been doing this for like 2 years, right? Like, I had been like bumping along, bumping my head in the dark before I met John, and we're in a public place, and he is publicly acknowledging his appreciation for me as a Black man, as someone just as is doing this project, and as like a peace offering. It's like, I'm joining forces with you, and it was scary. It was extremely, like,
Why
unnerving,
was it scary?
because we were around a bunch of white people. We were in public, It's
Uh-huh.
like, I have to have this male bravado. I have to wear this mask. I have to carry myself in a certain way. I have to be non-threatening, but also be able to look like I can protect myself at the same time. I have to walk this fine line, and flowers don't represent that. A lot of people, like, we are essentially in war times, in more ways than one, and flowers are not a great representation
No.
of, like, it just didn't. I felt a misalignment, and I was like, I have to have the courage to say yes to this, because I've done it for so many other people, and I haven't accepted it for myself. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it really changed the way that the project, it changed everything about the project, changed me as a human being, because it showed me what I had been doing for other people for the last 2 years.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. And John, had you ever received flowers before?
Yeah, I've received flowers several times. The first time I received flowers, though, was for I got accepted into grad school, and my wife got me some flowers, and so I was like, "Whoa!" Like, when I got them, I was like, "This is crazy."
I'm sure she was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like, it's so funny. Like, I'm the florist and she bakes, so it's like,
Right.
I never, I know the few places I can buy baked goods for her from, or like I can make it, and it can be trash
Okay.
if I make it. It can be not great if I make it, because it's like, oh, he's trying. But for her, she was like, who can I get? She knows there's like a short list of people to get flowers from for me. So yeah, this was she knew that I liked these people design, so it all worked out well. But yeah, that was the first time, and then I've gotten flowers for my birthdays since then. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What about you?
I haven't. No, I have not. receive
Uh-oh.
flowers.
Okay. Well,
Um,
signature
I
address, we got you.
Seriously.
I have. I mean, I think So I gave flowers to my dad um,
Mm,
for his birth because I was like, oh, I'm sure he wouldn't expect flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him, and he was a big. I mean, what I kind of know about flowers and not a lot was from him. He had rose bushes, in our home, both of our homes, and that was a big thing for him. It didn't transfer to mine. I did not transfer the green thumb, but I know that was something that he always loved doing. So that was an appreciative, appreciating him and what he had done, for us, and as our dad and stuff like that. Um, but I thought it was, fascinating, and it's, and I posed that question, and I hopefully, people will answer because I think, if you ask people that question, probably 9 times out of 10, most brothers are going to be like, oh, I've never received flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, what was probably either the most interesting reaction you got from someone that you either delivered flower or, if you delivered in person, what was the one reaction that you remember the most?
I'll go. I delivered to this one guy. This was great. I had a pop up at this black art event, and this guy walks up, and I don't even know how we got on the topic, but I tell him about Black Man Flower Project, and he was like, "Cool, like like I should nominate my little brother. It's his birthday this weekend." He just thought like if I tell you a name, you'll get him flowers, and I was like, you know what? Okay, let's do it. Why not? We weren't even planning to do a delivery that weekend, but I was like, I'll do it. And so I was like, yo, hit me up here. Let me know like a little bit more about your brother. Because I had a nomination for him on the website at that point. So he told me about him. And so I'll go and deliver. And I had texted the guy. I was like, hey, this is John with Plank Pistils. On behalf of the Black Man Flower Project, you've been nominated to receive some flowers. You have to send the website because people think it's spam every time. Every time people think it's spam.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
oh yeah, it's like, what? No, this is not real. And
Wow.
so I found out later from the dude, he was like, yeah, I looked up the website. I was like looking at all the links. I was like, this sounds weird. So I go and I deliver the flowers. I tell him like, hey, I'm gonna be on my way here soon. He didn't know his brother had delivered the flowers. He didn't know his brother had nominated him. And so I show up and he answers the door. He's like, thank you so much. And I was like, let me tell you who nominated you. It was like, your brother such and such. He was like, for real? I was like, yeah. And then he was already just like, so, because I think it was his older brother. He was already like, oh. And then I like read to him what his brother said about him. And he was just like, oh. And the best part about it was, as I turned to walk away, because it was his birthday, and so they were having like some type of family event at the house. The brother who nominated him wasn't there though, so he turns around and as he's walking into the house, he was like, "Y'all look, such and such got me flowers," and the whole room just like, "Oh!" And it was just great because it was this like communal moment where like everybody witnessed this black brother loving his little black brother, and everybody got to like feel the joy in that moment. It was great. That was one of the best deliveries ever.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I like that you told that story because it's not only is it kind of it's a familiar thing, but just the fact that it also broke down the walls that we say, hey, we can acknowledge love in for our brothers, and that's
Yep.
I think a very hard thing because even when I was looking at this the research about the top reasons for death among black men. I mean, and it goes up. I think it was 29. I don't have the exact numbers, but was homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, that means, and for the most part, when we're getting killed, it's by people in our communities or someone that we know. And so that base, in terms of we're not really loving ourselves and it's not transferring to people that we know in the community. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can break these things down, we can really, make some changes as far as how people feel one another. So, John, I did also want to touch upon the fact that you had mentioned that your arrangements, the arrangements are fantastic, and you thought, this was something that people could do. So, what goes into a great arrangement? So if I wanted to start doing this, and there may be some brothers like, look, I can't nominate, but I want to create my own arrangements. What goes into a great arrangement?
Ooh. Wow. That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever answered this question just like verbally. I've like always just shown people. But what goes into a great arrangement? I mean, I think you want to have like some greenery or some type of like branches, some type of hardy stems to kind of give it a good solid structure, kind of like a skeleton almost. Like you have this like oh my gosh, not skeleton, framework. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
you framing up a house. Like you create this like base structure or whatever, and then you want to choose like different sizes. Like so, different sizes of blooms. So some blooms are like the big face flowers, are like a rose or a chrysanthemum or like a football mum where the face is really big. And then you want to choose something that has like smaller blooms. And then you want to choose something that's, for me at least, I always like to choose things that are really textural. So thistles or oh my gosh, like freesia, or so like something that has some type of different texture, and it's not everything's not all the same shape. And then of course you want to like make sure like know like what colors go well together, and I
Okay.
think any colors can go well together. You just have to be mindful about how you merge them. YouTube University is a great way to like, or just like typing out on Instagram like floral design. So I
Okay.
think what goes into a good arrangement is a good variety, different heights. You don't want everything to be, some people like it, but for me, I don't like it. Like when everything's the same height, it's classic, it's traditional, it's old school. And I think it serves a purpose in certain settings. But like, if you just got a standalone arrangement, you don't want it to just be like even and round. Like I've gone in friends' houses and they're like, go ahead and fix the flowers or whatever. And all I do is like cut some things down, leave some things longer. And when you have things at different heights,
Mhm.
it makes your eye move. It makes the eye
Okay.
move, and it makes it a little more. It gives it depth. It gives it more dimension too. So yeah, texture, different sizes, and different heights. And not being afraid to use like empty space, like having something tall, something short, and there's kind of just like a negative space in the middle that can add to your arrangement.
Okay. Wow. That's great. And I would venture a guess that you're still designing flowers for your wife.
Yes. Funny enough, I did that for her today. I don't do it enough. It's like the Cobbler family doesn't have shoes, but it was funny. We went to the grocery store today, and I grabbed some flowers. And when we got home, she's very particular about where she wants things to be in the refrigerator. So as she's putting away all the groceries, I was just in there designing her some flowers. So
Just whipped it up
yeah.
with like breakfast.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it really is like second nature at this point.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so um where is the Blackman Flower Project going now? Next, I mean, I know you mentioned the cities, and what do you see happening in the near future with the program?
Ooh, that's why John's on the board of directors because I'm very short-sighted. So literally next week, for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we are nominating or looking for nominations for 10 Black men in New York City to receive flowers. It is through our partner or one of our collaborators, Stems Brooklyn, and a tribe called Flowers based out of New York. So there is a barbershop who's also collaborating. It's called Standard Barber Co. Black men can show up between 1 and 3 p.m. on Martin Luther King Jr. Day and receive a bouquet of flowers, as well as a sweatshirt that says "You deserve your flowers." And that sweatshirt is from a brand called Never Settle. So we're
Nice.
the first 10 Black men will get those, and there'll be some head shop opportunities. We'll have hopefully a nice whiskey pairing, and they can sit in the barber chair and get some photos taken. From there, we're continually expanding. I'm hoping to do some things with John for Black History Month again. I'm sure he has some stuff under wraps from the Planks and Pistils brand. So hopefully we can collab there. Father's Day is also huge. We want to normalize Black men getting flowers, and to that extent, Black Men Flower Project could potentially cease to exist, which would be a great thing if Black men are normalizing, and men in general normalizing seeing one another in that way. And yeah, I mean, again, we're trying. Like I mentioned at the beginning, there's a florist in London that is interested in working with us. So I would love to expand around the globe, and hopefully, me and John can quit our day jobs one day. That's the goal.
That's awesome. And John, what about you?
Planks and Pistils or Black Men Flower Project?
No, both.
Yeah, both. Starting with Black Men Flower Project, Robert's made it clear that he wants me to, like, in addition to just the general, guidance of being on the board, wants me to help really define what a Black Men Flower Project arrangement looks like. So that question you just asked, what makes a great arrangement? Great question, because we need to be able to communicate that as we expand to new florists. Like, hey, if you like to work with us, we appreciate your style. Your business might be booming, might be great, but if it's coming from Black Men Flower Project, this is the aesthetic we're going for. This is the vibe we're going for. So I would love to get to the point where, the fall, in each season, I'll never be like a menu type of floral designer where it's like, this is the exact arrangement that you will get. But I would love for in the fall, we send out I do a Zoom call with all the Black Men Flower Project florists and say, hey, y'all, thank y'all for being willing to be our florists for this season. I just want to walk us through, this is the aesthetic for the fall. This is the aesthetic for the winter. This is for the spring and for summer. Be sure to send the photos in to us. So be open to edits and stuff. So I really want to help refine the floral aesthetic of Black Men Flower Project. But then with Planks and Pistils, it's 1 million things going on. But yeah, we've got an installation, or like I said, DuSable. This makes 4 years since I did the first one. And there is a new DuSable statue in Evanston, Illinois, which is the first suburb right north of the city. And and the same person who did the bus downtown built this, he designed this big statue. It's it's literally just DuSable's head. And it's 7 feet in diameter or whatever. So me and the sculptor have been talking, and I'm going to do an installation there. And then I'm trying to work out a really cool, a floral art show where I work. I know this is Black Men Flower Project, but this project will be me and all Black women florists.
Nice.
So it's a special project. I did a solo show a few years ago, and basically I'm running that show back. But instead of designing, I'm going to kind of just curate the show and bring in because it was a show focused on Black women. So instead of me redoing it, I'm bringing in Black women.
Oh, that's fantastic.
To do all the designing. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, that's
and
great.
Then Valentine's Day. So
oh wow, yeah, Valentine's. Yeah, can you believe it's around the corner?
It's basically tomorrow.
Right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotta get my order into the floral arrangement.
Yes.
Or, I guess I need to do it myself, right? Do it myself. That
there we go.
Because the eye, because the eyes will be fluttering with the different, and I've got the framework.
Keith, we have virtual classes coming up.
Oh, okay.
The end of January, and you should check it out. So that'd be great.
Yeah, I may have to do that. Do that. Okay. So yeah, before two more things before I ask my final question: how can people either get involved with the Black Men Power Project, either by nomination or by donation? And then how can everyone follow both of both platforms?
Yeah, so you could be found on our primary platform is Instagram. So you can find us at Black Men Flower Project on Instagram. You can also go to blackmenflowerproject.org, where you can learn more, donate, and also please nominate. We're always short. As much money will always come from various sources. I will always find a way to get flowers, but we were always short on nominations. So we would love to get more Black men.
Well, you won't have to worry about that. I'll send.
Yeah.
I'll definitely send some in. Definitely.
Thank you. And then John, I'll let you speak to your various platforms.
Yeah, Planks and Pistils, PLANKS, like the workout, but it's supposed to be wood. And then AND Pistols, not the gun, PISTILS. Planks and Pistils is the Instagram, planksandpistols.com. I just started my own artist page. Just tomorrow, we're taking down a piece at this. We have a piece at a museum. The show ended today, so we're de-installing tomorrow, and that's just JohnCaleb.Pendleton on Instagram. And so yeah.
Great. Well, this has been a wonderful. I'm glad you guys shared that. I can't wait to. I'll post it on the page, and then I think I'm already connected via Instagram as well. But this question I always like to end with because I know we as Black men are always. Which Robert had said so early in the shows that we're always chasing that thing or providing things for holding it down for our families, our partners, and we don't necessarily think about ourselves all the time. So in 24, since it's the beginning of the year, it's 2024, how are you feeling right now as a Black man? What is it that you're hopeful for, or what are some of the things that you feel challenged by?
I am hopeful that I find a therapist this year. I've fallen off the wagon. As somebody that's such a proponent for mental health and celebrating other Black men, I definitely need to rein in my own mental health. I'm also hopefully graduating this year from college, which has been like a long-term goal for me. And just, keeping the project afloat, hiring more people to help, and finding volunteers and people just want to collaborate and help spread the message in whatever way that looks like. And also just to see more men in general receive flowers, regardless of their race.
Yeah, I feel hopeful that this year can be better than last. Just personally, it was a very rough year. And so I feel very hopeful for that. Me and my therapist are rocking and rolling. Things are going well there. Me and my psychiatrist, things are going well there. I'm finding balance, so I feel hopeful about that. And then just the challenges of, I think just the challenges of like staying true to creative vision while also while also trying to push the limit to grow your brand. It's like I gotta grow, I gotta make money, but I also have to stay true to myself and what it is that I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, this was great, and I have to say I'm very excited to kick off. So this kicked off season 5 of Black Men Speak podcast, and we're gonna get some more brothers some flowers. I have to say so. So yeah, I think that vision will come true, and I think it will, just really spark conversation of what it means, to be a man, a Black man. I mean, a man in general. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to break some of those barriers of masculinity? And I think the flowers are going to do that. And so I thank you guys for joining today, and I look forward to great things, and either possibly making my own flower arrangement or just nominating some well-deserved brothers that need it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.